Welcome to Talking in Stations. This is Matterall. We have a little bit of a different look. We're going to experiment with giving you more viewable space on this. So stick with us as we experiment. All right, let's go to the actual news view. This is November 12th, your EVE Online news. Let's take a look. All right, the big news today is the Keepstar in 49U that belonged to the Imperium was actually destroyed. It looked like it was an uncontested fight. We had live coverage thanks to Sully. You can catch that on our YouTube channel. Let's actually take a look at that right now. This Keepstar was a part of a part of a system that actually was very strategic a while ago. But now that the fight has reached Delve, it's no longer as important as it was. But it did serve as a beachhead for the Pappy forces. And here's some of the footage that we had yesterday. Try to get you a better picture in just a second. I think this Keepstar went down relatively quick in a matter of a few minutes, really. Keepstar can time down pretty fast when it's not contested. There's no tie-dye. And so part of the strategy here for this Keepstar when it's not defended is to bring as few people as you can to apply the damage to it, to destroy it as quickly as possible. And then to invite at the very end all the people that couldn't participate so they can get on the kill mail as well. And that gives everybody a chance to register their participation, that they were there, without clogging up tie-dye and making everything go slower in the process of killing it. So that was a deliberate strategy there. You can see in the foreground here, those are Titans mostly. I believe there were some motherships in a different fleet way down here. And they're all applying Aurora lasers to the Keepstar, and they brought it down relatively quickly. Then you can see other fleets come in and form. There's your heap of ships. And we'll try to fast forward over to, I think we went too far, because it was destroyed relatively quick. Yeah, sub-capital fleets gathered at the end, and they all did the coup de grace on that Keepstar, but it went down. We also saw during this fight, I'll take you to that footage, we saw Mothership actually bringing back some nightmare battleships, so we could see what that actually looked like. Well, here are the smaller ships getting some damage into the Keepstar before it blows up. And here, let's see an example of, maybe I could speed this up. So this is going to be sped up, but you can see in the middle of your screen here is the mothership, and there's the module that's just circled, and you'll see it actually release some. There's one. Nightmare battleships, those are faction battleships. And I think it does another one too. So that's what it looks like now when you take a ship out of maintenance bay, and you can take battleships out of super carriers if you have a certain drug in your system or a booster in your system. And if the super capital is in your fleet, then you are able to take a battleship out after you get blown up on the field. And it's a way of getting back into the fight quicker. So the mothership gets to work as a set piece in EVE Online again, as one of those ships that is a mothership, like it used to be called, holding fleets for other people. Okay, so that is the story of the 49U Keepstar. Here it is in its final moments. Again, this system was the capital of the initiative It isn't where they lived, but they named it their capital to give it extra defenses. This is a while ago, like 2 or 3 months ago. This was a Keepstar put there as kind of a gatekeeper to the Eastern territories, specifically Stain and Impasse and stuff. And here's some beautiful footage taken by our these are the last moments of the Keepstar. You can see the super capital fleet there firing on it again, going at double speed, and then it blows up here, but we couldn't see the explosion actually happen. It just switches to a wreck, and then you'll see it move really quickly as it gets vacuumed up. There it goes. That giant Keepstar is a giant pile of trash and moves flawlessly in space. I thought that was kind of funny. Okay. But that is the end of the Keepstar in 49U. That was expected to go down because, first of all, it was isolated, and the Pappy forces were able to hold the iHub long enough to put up a Sino jammer, which kept the Imperium from being able to jump anything into that. And that isolated it, and so they could go in there and with relative safely take out that Keepstar. And thank you, Sully. All right. Also in the news is a pretty expensive Asbel that went down in 6ZU. Let's take a look at its actual kill mail here. This thing was worth 50 billion. So not a cheap loss. Unfortunately, it looks like the 90% loot drop is over because only 50% of the loot dropped or less. So just missed that opportunity. Looked like it had a ton of materials, some Charons, and all that is destroyed. Now this is important because as more and more engineering complexes get destroyed by the Pappy forces that are invading the Imperium, the less able they are to reconstitute forces that they need in order to defend themselves. So it is a fight of attrition, and the attrition depends on how many ships you have on hand, how many people you have to fly those ships, how many ships you have in your stockpiles, and then how many minerals you have, and what power do you have to convert those minerals into new ships in order to stay in the fight. Those are all factors. So destroying complexes is important to the war effort if you're trying to defend yourself. Sully, why don't you jump in the channel if you get a chance? You don't have to. Also in the news, the iHub war is really heated up. Let's take a look at the timer board here as we look at just how many. Actually, I prefer a different view. I'm going to go to timer board and I'll go iHubs because I want to filter for iHub. But I also want to filter for Delve because I want to be specific to that region. That's where the most of the fight is right now. You can see that there are some 25 different iHubs going up in the next 24 hours. Half of those are actually Pappy forces, so they're going to have to defend the iHubs that they put down, and the other half are original Delve iHubs that Goonswarm has put down. So it's a 50-50 split. It's going to be a pretty hot weekend for iHubs in Delve. Looks like the war is really in a push and shove section where a lot of people are needed to get out there and to entosis iHubs and destroy as many hives as they can and put their own and defend those, because after 30 days, if they mature, you'll be able to put up that Sino jammer, which is, again, we've said is critically important to taking down structures like Keepstars. So that's what that's about. Okay, in game news today, a market bug. This was something that was put into Reddit. We'll have a look at that entry there. And I'll just read this really quick. Hey, quick heads up. When updating a market order, it always has the value selected, and you can type a new value in, hit enter, and that's that. Since today's patch, when you enter in a new value, the first digit you type does not get entered. So typing a 9,500 will input only 500. Be careful about that when updating market orders until it gets fixed. Now, CCP has responded to this, saying they're aware of the problem and they're out to fix it. So that is a PSA. Be careful about your market order. Double check it before you hit enter, or you may actually be putting the wrong price down. CCP announced that the Plex for Good COVID edition, COVID-19, has generated 135,550 US dollars to the World Health Organization. So that is fantastic that the players themselves donate the money through Plex to this cause. Congratulations to EVE Online players for doing something that is vitally important, as they usually do. Plex for Good is a effort that CCP puts on whenever there's a world disaster that they want to try to help. They have done numerous Plex for Goods in the past, and the latest one has been COVID-19. It's another dev blog here about crashing. I'll read this one. This came out today. New Eden is a complex universe with huge player-driven fights, a vast array of gameplay options, a massive player-controlled market, wormhole civilizations, and much more. Striving to find in-game advantage, players are consistently trying mechanics and interactions which were unplanned and emergent. The broad range of player-computer configurations have a similar complexity. Operating system versions, including patches, individual system configuration changes, driver versions, and reliability of underlying hardware all play a critical role in how the EVE Online client behaves. The complex software can fail in complex ways, and client crashes not only take you out of the game unexpectedly, but can disrupt that critical moment you have been waiting for. In some cases, the cause is easy to find and fix and can be deployed quickly. In others, the crashes happen so rarely that it's difficult to find and reproduce. CCP takes client stability extremely seriously. Investments have recently been made to ensure our client capture, our crash capturing ability is the best that it can be, which would result in us finding more crashes and ultimately reproducing than what you experience. This, along with the bug reports you submit by using F12, that's F12 on your keyboard, will help keep EVE's client as stable as possible. So they go on to talk about how they've upgraded the technology for you to bug report. So as you can see, with the number of players that play EVE Online and the age of the game, there's definitely code that will conflict with one another and cause some problems, not only on your end, but sometimes the server end. And so they've upgraded their ability to be able to fix things for you. Check out that dev blog for more information. Okay, Declarations of War episode is out. This comes out every few weeks. This is episode 204. It features CCP Goodfella and CCP Dopamine. Those are two developers. Goodfella is, I believe he is in marketing, and Dopamine is head of the community team. I don't know if he's head of the community team, but he's one of the visible senior community team guys. So some of the topics that they cover on this episode here, let's see if I can get the logo in there, is the challenges and opportunities of marketing the EVE brand. Now, that's what CCP Goodfella does. So that would be a good discussion for him. In addition, they cover the evolution of CCP's community team. That's CCP Dopamine's domain. The development of EVE streaming community and its impact on EVE growth. And the person that actually makes this podcast has a high interest in streaming platforms, as he's very familiar with Twitch. So that's probably where that question gets asked. Discussing relative accessibility to EVE for the casual observer and potential player, how COVID has affected life at CCP. They talk about POCVIN. They talk about scope and pulse. and releasing big patches during a massive EVE conflict, and the server performance and it tipping the outcome for these high-profile fights is another thing that they go into. So that's about an hour usually, and you can join Alexiv Carde, and also, oh, I'm drawing a blank on my own guy. Artemis. Wow. Artemis Albosa. He's also from TIS, but he is also part of Declarations of War. I knew that was, I second guessed myself. That was the problem there. So check that out. That is, again, Declarations of War podcast. Also like to remind you that the podcast for Talking in Stations Weekend Report is out. The Two Towers, we called it. Check out that episode. That is a full 2 hours with some highly respected players. Headliner and Villy both show up, talk about the war. But we also have with us on that show myself and Elise and Arcia, talking to them about other things as well. There's your group. All right, so there's something I want to show you guys. If you're looking for older Talking in Stations episodes, we have about 500 episodes. You can just type in anything you want here. Like if I wanted to check out blackout episodes, and those are episodes regarding the blackout. I want to know what it was like when it was happening. Go ahead and hit your search bar, and it will pop up all the episodes that have anything to do with blackout. And there's a number of them. Or if there's somebody that, or some group that you like I like Sir Mole. I wanted to hear that episode that he was in, right? Because he's an old player. You can zero right in on Sir Mole and Andrew Groen talking about EVE history, should you want to do that. Or Mr. V, right? Let's check out Mr. V, because he's another blast from the past. I think you need a space there. And here is that episode with Shadu and Mr. V that we had just a while ago. So Talking in Stations now serves as a repository because we just have way too many episodes to want to entice you going chronologically. So just use it as a database. Again, you can also do events like Harvest, right? What's that called? Crimson Harvest. Well, I'll just put Harvest in there. And you can see all the episodes that had to do with Crimson Harvest in the past 5 years. There you go. Once again, that is the Two Towers from Talking in Stations. That's 2 full hours of catch up on EVE Online. So check that out. Okay, a big kill. This just popped out earlier today. This is a total worth 24 billion. Now that's pretty high for a Kronos. That's just a Marauder. Those things are generally a lot less than that. So I wanted to see what it was carrying that was so expensive. As we look at its profile here, I think it is a damage control unit here worth 15 billion. That is a big part of it, but it had just fantastic equipment on here. So Satil's damage modifier worth 15 billion, 16 billion. You also had unit DTAC 34343 modifier droned damage amplifier. That's 3 billion for that module. So this was blinged out. No wonder it ended up costing him 24 billion for this Marauder. Generally, Marauders are used for missioning, so we assume that was going somewhere to do some missions. All right, well, that looks like that is your... Oh, we have one more that I skipped here. This is a false rumor that came out today by Snuff that was actually pushing this rumor themselves, as it was put out by Snuffed Out, that Bazagarin, the Keepstar there, was going to be under new ownership. That is a false rumor, so this is not true if you heard about it. We asked them for clarification, and they continued the rumor. It wasn't until we talked to Sixth Empire, the actual owners of the Keepstar, that said that is a rumor we have not heard of. They issued a public response just to calm everybody else. And Snuff cannot be trusted in the game, nor can they be trusted with information, apparently. They were playing around with this idea. Let's take a look at your weather for the day. Not to be too cheesy about it, but I want to remind you that weather storms are traveling around nullsec, and you can get caught in them if you're not prepared. So if you're in Mailpass, Providence, Catch, Immensia, Vale of the Silent, Fountain, Delkline, or Tenel, they call it. But look out for your storms there. This you can find on Eve Scout, and it is constantly updated by Katya Say, but also other people that help him out, like Captain Crinkle there. This is Signal Cartel's helpful website for you, so check that out. There are some storm chasers, people that actually hang around storms because they perform better in certain storm environments, and therefore they want to hang out with that advantage. So they will travel with the storm, using it to try to kill people in it. Good for them. All right, one last announcement here before we wrap up. And I'm just going to read this. I'm not familiar, but somebody sent it to me a second time and asked me to talk about it. So I looked at it and I did. Not that everything that I get sent will appear on the show, but this one does. It says, "Hi, Matterall. Not sure if this is something TIS would be interested in, but tomorrow, a well-known high-sec YouTuber, DeLone Wolf, and I like DeLone Wolf, that's why I'm reading this, is getting evicted from Detal. It's a final timer on his structures. Looks like there won't be a defense, but with 25K followers to his channel, you never know. Might be an interesting story to cover that isn't World War B2 related. He would be an interesting person to get on the show, even if his structures get blown up without defense. So if you are interested in helping DeLone Wolf in the system of Detal, show up there before his stuff gets destroyed. And I'm not sure when the timer will actually happen, but I will get information from him and post it in Talking in Stations Discord to see if we can't generate some help. I've also been invited to other parties, attacks and defenses and that sort of stuff. It's not something we get involved with. Talking in Stations doesn't have an army, nor do we have enough goodwill to get people to come fight for us if we're in trouble, which is one of the reasons that Talking in Stations isn't in the game. We don't want to suffer what DeLone Wolf is suffering here, and that is to get your stuff blown up because of your exposure. So that's why we don't have an actual corporation or structures or anything that can be taken away in the game. It allows us to be free agents and talk about anybody we want at any time we want in any way we want. It's just a way of being independent. But DeLone Wolf, if you want to help him out, he provides a lot of good content. You want to defend his structures, good for you. All right, that is all from, well, let me switch over to our final. That is all from Talking in Stations today. We will see you tomorrow. Take care.